Do you think it would help to make the present voluntary routings compulsory?
Yes. Any routing would be better than a recommendation, which means very little in law. Put it into a hard, fast fact, and it might be faults in the system, but at least you've got a definite attitude and approach to it.
What's the major hazard at the present time to supertankers like this?
Oh, the major hazard is small ships, buoy hopping, possibly an AV with a watchkeeper certificate, committed to following between one buoy and another, small ships using deep water channels which they need not use. We do not look for priorities for these ships. A very difficult thing to give, to say that this ship will have the right of way. But I think we could get down to hard and fast rules as regards coasters keeping out of the deep water channels.
Do you think there ought to be a minimum qualification for people bringing boats up the channel?
Oh, without a doubt. Years ago we laid down minimum qualifications. Perhaps our qualifications haven't kept up with the proper requirements.
What are you going to do about yachtsmen?
Well, one might put a limit on them going outside a harbour, unless they've got a suitable qualifications. Why not? They obey the same laws. They get us into difficulties, and ships like these, to avoid a collision with a yacht, might put us off the ground.
Do you think the present situation is dangerous?
I wouldn't say up to the present, but there has been hazards, but I don't think it's really dangerous if we navigate properly.
Is it likely to become so?
Well, a lot of people say that we should have smaller ships because these ships are hazardous, and if something happens to them, there's too much oil. But this does the work of 17 of the ships that came after the war, and we roughly got about 30 of them. That's 510 ships. It's going to be worse than the M2 in full fog.
Do you think the average captain is worried about bringing his ship through the channel these days?
I'd say the average captain is confident, and I don't think he's worried about it.
Control. Could you bring up another 5 revs, John? Will do.
Midship. Hard a port.
Control, Trooper 1. Go ahead, 1. Contact with your forward gun. Trooper, go ahead. Just put the eye on a bit, Salute. Yep. Trooper 4 to control. Go ahead, 4. That's the first back spring on, sir. Roger, 4.
I don't want to be unduly pessimistic about this, but if you're having an accident every month on average, and ships are getting bigger, and we have ships now carrying highly dangerous cargoes, liquid ammonia, methane, this type of cargo, and ships carrying 250,000 tons of oil, it doesn't need much imagination to see that in the end, one of these accidents is going to happen to this kind of ship, or possibly to a cross-channel ferry. The record of the cross-channel ferries is excellent, and the fact they've been able to keep out of danger is due to the great expertise of the masters of the ferries, which are using the area every day.
We're going to do an emergency stop now just to prove how fast these ships can be stopped in an emergency. You'll see this ship, who is doing 19.5 knots now, the engine at full speed ahead, brought to a standstill. Full astern. Out of full, sir. Stop. One minute 22 seconds from full ahead to stopped in the water. 19.5 knots.
Amount to 175.
175. What have you got on the screen, Mike? Anything particular?
Target A, sir, is 2 miles on the starboard bow, bearing green 30.
Steady or dropping?
Steady bearing, sir.
Right, we'll have to watch that one then.
Yes.
Anything else?
We're on the port bow, sir. We have a target 2 miles, a red 45, dropping slowly.
I see him. He's just a small fisherman, but nevertheless we must... I don't think he's likely to turn round on us, but watch
No.
this one on the starboard bow, would you please?
Yes, so I think he's a danger man, sir.
The rule of the road is this, that any ship coming in on our starboard or our right-hand side, we would give way to. That is, we would keep out of its way. Any ship coming in on our port or left-hand side, we would expect them to give way to us. And that is the normal rule of the road. There are several ways to implement this. If you've got a ship coming in on the starboard side and you cannot get out of its way by altering course to starboard and going round its stern, then you will either slow down or stop. And you would expect the people coming in on the port or left-hand side to do the same for you.
Does this always work out?
No, I'm afraid it doesn't. In a majority of cases, yes, but I'm not going to name any names, but there are certain ships that do not appear to obey the rules. And in my mind, I would say that if everybody obeyed the rules, there would be very few collisions indeed. I'm quite sure of this.